Shiny hunting is one of the most beloved features within Pokemon. Everybody loves shiny hunting. It is literally one of the best things about these games. However, there is a list of Pokemon that are shiny locked, and today I want to take a look at that list of Pokemon, either regular Pokemon or shiny locked forms of Pokemon that you just cannot get in any way, shape, or form, and when we last actually saw the availability of these Pokemon. So let's get started right off the bat. Kicking things off, we have Victini. Now, Victini has actually not even been seen, like, in-game since about Sword and Shield. That was, like, the last time we even really saw anything about it or really even heard about it, and that was barely even anything then. Before that, Ultra Sun and Moon was about the last time you could really do anything with Victini, but nonetheless, the point is that Victini is still not available in the games properly, and a shiny form still doesn't exist. It's still a shiny locked Pokemon. It doesn't have a shiny version, and you can't get it in any shiny form and or shape. Fortunately, this Psychic Fire type remains unloved. Keldeo follows this up as well. Now, we did get to see Keldeo in Scarlet and Violet in one shape and or form, sort of, but thing is, though, we haven't seen a shiny version of it as of yet. It's still shiny locked. We haven't gotten a shiny version in any of the recent games, and honestly, it is still disappointing. Keldeo is just a genuinely cool Pokemon, and having a shiny version of it would be just nice. And a lot of these Pokemon do have decent shinies. We just will never see them. Meloetta has got to be next. So this is the Aria form of Meloetta, and yeah, the shiny version of it is great. It has like a little cyan design to it and everything. Now, we do get it in Scarlet and Violet. It is available. Like, it is available in the actual game. It is requiring the DLC, of course, to actually get it. But the point is that that was like the most recent time we saw it, but it was still shiny locked. For whatever reason, they kept Meloetta shiny locked. And mostly all mythical Pokemon, because Meloetta does fall into the category of being a mythical Pokemon, they just don't seem to get any love in that regard. They just aren't given any way, shape, or form any sort of love when it comes to shinies. So, unfortunately, Meloetta is another one. But the confined form, same thing here. It does appear, of course, in Scarlet and Violet, but it's not through normal gameplay. You can only get it through a transfer from a previous game, like, for example, specifically Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, or Pokemon Sun and Moon, or even Oras and X and Y. That's the only really way to get it over, but the thing is, the shiny version is still not available. This is a cool shiny, by the way. Like, Shiny Hoopa is, like, golden colored. Like, that is such a sick design, but unfortunately, no shiny. It's still shiny locked. Continuing the list of just unfortunate mythical Pokemon, we have the Fire Water type Volcanion, the Steam Pokemon. Same thing here. It has made an appearance in Scarlet and Violet, mainly through transfers. You can't actually catch it in gameplay, and same thing goes literally freaking for all the mythical Pokemon. None of them seem to have any events. Like Volcanion, the last time it actually had any sort of event was back in X and Y. But again, same thing here. The shiny is sick, man. It's like, again, a golden, pink, bluish, cyan design, but still no shiny version of it does exist in the games, unfortunately. Next up, we have Cosmog, Nebby. You guys know it, but unfortunately, Cosmog, as a little psychic type legendary it is, does not have a shiny. Yes, there is no way of getting a shiny version of it. It's unavailable. You can't, I don't even know if you can actually really do much with it. Like in Scarlet and Violet, of course, you can kind of have it because you also have Solgaleo and Lunala in those games. But other than that, there's not really much else to it. You don't really have a shiny version of it. It's just kind of been left behind, to be frankly honest with you. So same thing goes for Cosmog. And actually, interestingly enough, this kind of goes for a few other things as well. Cosmoem, the middle stage kind of evolution in the evolutionary line of, you know, Cosmog. Same thing with this fella. The shiny, of course, isn't really the best on this one. I mean, sorry, actually, it is decent on this one. Cosmog wasn't the best, but Cosmoem does have a decent shiny, but again, still not available. Again, I do wonder why the existence of this thing even is here. I guess the only way of getting a shiny one usually is like through distributions, but this is a Pokemon that just doesn't even have that, which again, really sucks. All right, you guys knew it was going to be on here. Magearna, of course, a Steel Fairy mythical Pokemon. Again, it does have the ability to be transferred to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but as for the shiny, which literally the shiny version just makes it look fully steel. Like the regular version has more of those like pinkish colors, like very, very tame, you know, kind of dampened pinkish. But guess what? The shiny version is full on steel, and unfortunately, it doesn't exist. It is not available. You can't get it in any way, shape, and or form just yet. Marshadow, the Gloomed Weller Pokemon. This fella, the shiny form is kind of dog shit, I'm not going to lie. It barely looks different. Like, I frankly cannot tell the difference, if I'm going to be real with you. But, I mean, I'm going to say, even though I can't tell the difference, again, I still think they should give it a shiny version. Like, it still needs to exist, but unfortunately, it hasn't been distributed. It does make, again, an appearance in Scarlet and Violet. Or rather, it actually isn't available in Scarlet and Violet. The last time it was available was actually Sword and Shield, and it was introduced back in Sun and Moon. But yeah, Sword and Shield was the last time we saw Marshadow, and we don't even have the shiny version of it either. Kubfu. Now, the shiny for this one, kind of stupid, not gonna lie. The only thing that changes is its mouth kind of turning a little bit orange, but it doesn't have a shiny. Now, you can get it, of course. If you have the DLC, you can get it in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. You just got to make sure you've got the Crown Tundra DLC, and you can get your hands on it. However, again, shiny not available. Same goes for Urshifu, both Single Strike form and, of course, the Rapid Strike style form. So both of these forms do not have a shinies either. You can't get them in shiny. They don't have any availability for that. They are available, of course, in Scarlet and Violet, thanks to Kubfu, because you can just evolve it. But again, you can't actually get a shiny version. As for the shinies, though, same thing like with Kubfu, just like the really yellow parts turn orange, and that's about it. Zarude, a very strange Pokemon. Its introduction was kind of weird. Like, it was introduced in Sword and Shield as a sort of, I guess, special event mythical Pokemon, and it was alongside one of the Pokemon movies. However, you guys cannot obtain it in normal gameplay in, Scarlet and Violet, only through a transfer. And if you do get it, you can't really get a shiny one. They never distributed a shiny version, unfortunately, which really does suck. But nonetheless, it is what it is. What can you do about it? Not really a lot, and that's pretty much that. Now, Glastrier and Spectrier, both these Pokemon were introduced, of course, in Pokemon Sword and Shield's The Crown Tundra DLC, alongside Calyrex. Yes, and all three of these Pokemon, including Calyrex, Spectrier, and Glastrier, all three of them have no way of getting an actual shiny form. There's no way of getting a shiny of these. They do not exist. There's no way of getting your hands on these. They were never distributed. And as for the shinies of each of them, all of them actually have okay shinies. I mean, they're not the best shinies in the world, but I do think Spectrier has a sick one. Glastrier, it's on the other side, though, because it's not really much of a difference. But it's really unfortunate still that we don't have any shiny versions of these, and I do hope down the line, maybe a generation or two from now, that hopefully we'll get the shinies of these. Enamorus. Yes, Enamorus, unfortunately, is another Pokemon that lands in the line of unpossible or impossible shiny forms. It's available, of course, in Legends Arceus and can be transferred over to, of course, Scarlet and Violet. However, again, it doesn't have a shiny form that can be obtained. The shiny version doesn't look much of a different than the original, but it is, unfortunately, impossible to actually get it. Next, we have the Ruinous Pokémon. Yes, so we've got Wuchien, we've got Qianpao, we've got Tinglu, and we got Chiyu. Now, all four of these Pokemon have shinies, and Chiyu is my favorite. It turns into a blue fish. That just looks epic. However, none of them can actually be received in shiny. Same thing with Tinglu, even though the shiny looks sick on that one too. And same thing goes for Qianpao. I love its shiny. All of these guys have cool shinies, man, like every single one of them. But unfortunately, none of them is actually available. You cannot get a single one of them shiny in Scarlet and Violet at this point in time. Hopefully, there'll be distributions in the future, but right now, it's impossible. So, you guys can tell we've gotten into the Scarlet and Violet side of things and all the Pokemon that are kind of shiny locked in Scarlet and Violet. Well, I'm going to run through this because there's actually a lot of them here. So, starting off, we have Koraidon and Miraidon. Of course, the two legendary Pokemon of Scarlet and Violet. Now, Koraidon's shiny is one of the best ones. The black, the red, the yellow, the white, it looks fantastic. Amazing. Miraidon, on the other hand, same thing there. The white coloring with the still remaining blue color and yellow is fantastic. Both of these two legendaries are just amazing, but we haven't gotten one. There is theories, though, that we might get a distribution for these guys right before the release of Legends EA, possibly. Again, there's no guarantees for that, but it would be a good way to kind of lead us into that. Again, we'll have to wait and see. Next, we have the Walking Wake, and of course, its enemy, Iron Leaves. Now, these two do have shiny versions, and Iron Leaves looks better because it's like basically a metallic version of itself, which looks way better actually in that color, but unfortunately, it's not available in shiny. In the Walking Wake version, which has like a blue mane, same thing here, not available. You can't actually get them. We've had distributions and like Terror Raid events for these two, but we still haven't had a shiny distribution event or a mystery gift or anything like that, actually, which is still really unfortunate. Next, we have the Retainer Pokemon. This would include Okidogi, Munkidori, and Fezandipiti. All three of these, shiny locked. They are all stuck, of course, and you need to have the DLC to get them all. That's a pretty obvious point. However, all of them are actually impossible to actually get. There's no way for you to get your hands on these shinies. As for the shiny forms themselves, Fezandipiti looks, in my opinion, the best of them. Munkidori is kind of a lame shiny. Okidogi has like a very... It stands out. Let's just put it like that. It does definitely stand out as a shiny. Not my favorite, but it definitely does look like a solid one. But there is one more Pokemon from this section that also doesn't have it. Ogerpon. Now, the only real difference in its shiny, when it is a shiny form, is its face, which turns green. So that's really the only massive difference necessarily. However, I should point out, it still doesn't have a shiny form. Guys, it doesn't have a shiny version. There's no distribution events. Of course, it is a more recent Pokemon, so of course it might take longer before we see one, but still kind of unfortunate. Next, we have Gouging Fire. Of course, this is one of the brand new versions of, well, Entei. This is a Paradox form of him. And guess what? The shiny version, it looks so good, but yep, there was no way of getting it shiny. People really were disappointed by this. I was disappointed by this. When you played the game, you finished the Crown Tundra, when you finished the Indigo Disc DLC, you'd really expect to be able to shiny hunt these guys because they're in a single location, in a static location. You would wish you could just save and keep resetting to catch one. But no, that is not possible whatsoever. And same goes for the rest of them. Going for Raging Bolt as well, which is the other specifically Paradox form that you guys can get. And this one as well, really cool shiny. It also looks like the Raikou shiny of the Pokemon it's based on, more or less. It does look similar to that shiny too. But guess what? This Electric Dragon type does not get any love. Unfortunately, you cannot have this in shiny form. Going over to the, well, Violet version of the Paradox Pokemon, we have Iron Boulder. The shiny version of this one also makes it look a little bit more steel, removing some of the black and orange parts and just making it full-on steel looking. Again, not really maybe the best of shinies, but unfortunately, it literally is not possible for you to get your hands on this fella in shiny form in any sort of way. Same thing goes for Iron Crown, the other Paradox Pokemon. The shiny of this one is also very steel looking. They changed a lot of the colors away and just keep the blue and steel coloring on it, which looks cool, but again, not possible to receive. Terrapagos, yes, Terrapagos. Now, it does have a shiny form, and I like this one. It makes it fully cyan colored. It actually, in my opinion, kind of looks like really cool like this. It genuinely looks like an epic design. However, same thing goes here. There's no way to actually get it in a shiny form. No matter what you do, you can't get it unless, of course, you hack it into the game. But there's no official way to actually get it. It's generally speaking shiny locked. Now, finishing off the list of regular Pokemon that don't have this, like regular Pokemon, is going to be Pecharunt. Of course, it's the subjugation Pokemon introduced in the special, like, event that happens after you've done all the different DLC and stuff. It's a special free event that's given out. But guess what? Pecharunt, it can't be received. It is a mythical Pokemon. It's a poison and ghost type. As for its design, it turns into a bit more orange, which makes sense because it's based on a Peccaberry and, a peach, more or less. But again, no, you can't get it shiny. It's really unfortunate. Next, we have forms of Pokemon. So there are quite a few Pokemon that have different forms, and those specific forms also don't have an actual, shiny version. Some of them have regular shinies, but not a shiny version to their form. So this list, we're going to go through it pretty quickly here, and here's what it is. First of all, we have the Pirouette version and Pirouette form of Meloetta. This unfortunate form doesn't get an actual shiny. Same thing goes for the Keldeo Resolute form. Keldeo Resolute form does not have a shiny, and same goes for the next Pokemon, which is Vivillon. This fella has a Pokeball pattern, which doesn't have a shiny version for it. Well, it exists. It is a shiny version that exists, but you can't actually receive it in any way, shape, or form. Same thing goes for Hoopa Unbound, the Gin Pokemon. Same thing here. The shiny version is fully gold, but nope, can't get it shiny. The same thing goes for the original Cap Pikachu, Hoenn Cap, Sinnoh Cap, Unova, as well as the other caps you guys can get. So that includes also the Kalos Cap and even the Alola Cap. Every single one of these capped Pikachus cannot have a shiny version of itself. And these guys were last available in around, I want to say Sun and Moon, like that era was kind of when you were able to get them in like special events. And then in Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, they're actually not really available anymore. Like in Scarlet and Violet, you can't even like really have them. You can only transfer them, which that's about it. But yes, it's an unfortunate one. Moving on for the Pikachus, though, we have Battle Bond and Ash Greninja. So Battle Bond Greninja, which is just a form of regular Greninja, and Battle Bond as well as Ash Greninja, neither of them can have a shiny version of themselves, which again is unfortunate because the models do seem existing for it, but again, you can't get it. Same thing goes for Magearna in its original color. The original color Magearna has a shiny version, which is so cool. It looks like an Ultra Ball versus the Pokeball design. It looks like a straight-up Ultra Ball, but guess what? You can't get it. You can't get it in any way, shape, or form either. Continuing from there, we have another Pikachu. This is the Pikachu World Cap Pikachu. Same thing with this one. It has a shiny version, but it's not available. Can't get it. There's no way to get it. Same thing happens to Rapid Strike style Urshifu. And this is, again, we already mentioned these about Urshifus. You can't get it. Also, the Dada Zarude, which is a special form of Zarude, doesn't have this availability either. Same thing happens here. It has the Scarf, but shiny version does not exist and can't be received. Continuing from there, we have actually the, well, in this case, the Calyrex Ice Rider and the Calyrex Shadow Rider. This is the two different forms of Calyrex together with, Spectrier and Glastrier. Neither of these two can actually be shiny either. There's no shiny version. I mean, they exist. The shiny forms do exist, but you can't actually receive them. Continuing from there, we have the Gigantamax Melmetal. Gigantamax Melmetal cannot be received in a shiny form. The shiny version does really only change a tiny bit anyways, but it's still unfortunate. Continuing from there, we have the Gigantamax Urshifu, which is another one. Both Single Strike and Rapid Strike, neither of their shinies are available in Gigantamax form to be received. You can't get them, unfortunately. Going from there, though, we also have the Enamorous Therian form, which also does change a significant amount on its shiny, but unfortunately is not available. Going from there, we have some roaming Pokemon, specifically the Gimmighoul roaming form. Now, regular Gimmighoul does have shiny forms. You guys can actually get it. However, the roaming version of it does not have a shiny that you can receive. There is a shiny form that exists, but you can't receive a shiny version of it. Same goes for another event Pokemon, that being Blood Moon Urshifu, or Ursaluna in this case. Blood Moon Ursaluna does have a shiny version. It is just kind of a brighter version of itself, but again, not available. Going from there, we have the 3 different forms, as well as the 3 extra forms in the 4th form, if you want to call it that. But basically, we have the different versions of Ogerpon. The Wellspring Mask, for example. We also have the Hearth Flame Mask. Continuing from there, we have the Cornerstone Mask, and also the Terrastalled version of all of these masks, including the original Terrastall Teal Mask. None of these forms have a shiny version. And finishing off the list, we have the Terrastall version of Terrapagos, which doesn't have a shiny, and the Stellar form Terrapagos, which doesn't have a shiny. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the list of all the Pokemon that don't have shiny forms. There are quite a lot of them. Like, there's really a long list of Pokemon that don't have them.